You heard that right. Jon Moxley, the face of AEW, the man who bled for this company, the wrestler who carried all Elite Wrestling on his back through pandemic shows, empty arenas, and every single crisis this promotion has faced, has just been fired by Tony Khan. And why? Because he lost one match to Claudio Castagnoli. One match. Let that sink in for a moment. The man who defined what it means to be AEW, gone. Just like that. Now, before you think this is clickbait, before you think we're exaggerating for views, let me be crystal clear, the wrestling world is exploding right now. Social media is on fire. Wrestlers are subtweeting. Fans are divided down the middle. And Tony Khan, he's gone radio silent. The man who tweets about everything from ratings to his dog's breakfast just made the biggest decision in AEW history and has nothing to say about it. But we have plenty to say. And trust me, by the end of this video, you're going to understand why this isn't just shocking, it's potentially the worst decision in professional wrestling history. And yes, I'm including Vince McMahon's greatest blunders in that statement. Trivia question number 1, before we dive deeper, here's a question for you. How many times has Jon Moxley held the AEW World Championship? Drop your answer in the comments below. Let's see who the real AEW fans are. Let's rewind for a second. Let's talk about who Jon Moxley actually is to All Elite Wrestling. When he walked out of WWE in 2019, when he left the machine, the empire, the guaranteed money, he didn't just join AEW, he validated it. His debut at Double or Nothing wasn't just a surprise appearance. It was a declaration that AEW was legitimate, that this wasn't just some indie super show, that Tony Khan's experiment could actually compete. Moxley didn't come to AEW to coast. He didn't come to collect a paycheck and work Tuesdays. He came to build. Every death match, every brutal promo, every time he showed up looking like he just crawled out of a bar fight, that was him telling the world that AEW was different, that AEW was dangerous, that AEW mattered. And now, he's gone, fired, released, however you want to phrase it, the result is the same. Jon Moxley is no longer an AEW wrestler. The match that supposedly caused this, a hard-hitting, brutal contest against Claudio Castagnoli, that main event Dynamite 3 nights ago. And yes, Moxley lost, clean, in the middle of the ring. But here's what makes this absolutely insane. It was a great match. It was the kind of match that reminds you why you fell in love with wrestling in the first place. Claudio looked like $1,000,000. Moxley, even in defeat, looked like the toughest human being on planet Earth. So why fire him? That's the question everyone's asking. And the answers floating around are even more disturbing than the decision itself. Now, we have a quick request for you. We are constantly working to improve our content to earn your love and support. That's why we would truly appreciate it if you could take a moment to leave a like on this video, subscribe to the channel, and hit the bell icon so you never miss an update here on Wrestling Zone Insider. Let's talk about the rumors. Because in wrestling, where there's smoke, there's usually fire. And right now, there's enough smoke to fill every arena AEW has ever run. Rumor number 1, Tony Khan wanted Moxley to take time off to rest and recover, and Moxley refused. According to sources close to the situation, Khan has been worried about Moxley's schedule for months. The man works AEW, he works New Japan, he's been doing independent dates. Tony supposedly wanted him to slow down, to protect the investment, to preserve his body. Moxley, being Moxley, basically told him to shove it. If this is true, and I'm not saying it is, but if it's true, firing someone because they love wrestling too much, that's a new level of insanity. Rumor number 2, there was a backstage altercation. Now, we've heard whispers about tension between Moxley and certain members of AEW management for weeks. Nothing concrete, nothing we could report with confidence. But after this firing, those whispers are turning into shouts. Some people are saying Moxley had words with Christopher Daniels, AEW's head of talent relations. Others are pointing fingers at the Young Bucks, and a few conspiracy theorists are even suggesting this goes all the way to the top, that Moxley and Tony Khan had a fundamental disagreement about the direction of the company. Trivia question number 2, speaking of history, can you name the opponent Jon Moxley defeated to win his first AEW World Championship? Comment your answer and let's see who remembers that historic night. Rumor number 3, and this is the one that makes my blood boil, Tony Khan is cleaning house to make room for WWE cast-offs. There, I said it. Ever since the forbidden door swung wide open, ever since WWE started releasing talent left and right, AEW has been picking up wrestlers like they are Pokemon cards. And don't get me wrong, some of these signings have been great. But if Tony Khan just fired Jon Moxley to make room on the budget for another WWE mid-carder who couldn't get over on Monday Night Raw, then we need to have a serious conversation about this company's priorities. Let me paint you a picture of what AEW looks like without Jon Moxley. It's not pretty. First, you've lost your most credible wrestler. And I don't mean credible in that he cuts good promos sense. I mean credible in that this man looks like he could actually hurt someone's sense. In an era where professional wrestling sometimes feels more like performance art than combat sport, Moxley brought legitimacy. When he was in the ring, you believed. You believed the violence mattered. You believed the stakes were real. Second, you've lost your most reliable main eventer. Look at AEW's track record. When they needed someone to carry the company through the pandemic, who stepped up? Moxley. When they needed someone to have a legendary match with Kenny Omega, who delivered? Moxley. When they needed someone to legitimize the world title, to make it feel important, who wore it like it was the only thing that mattered? Jon Moxley. Third, and this might be the most important, you've lost your connection to the original vision of AEW. Remember when All Elite Wrestling was supposed to be the alternative? The place where wrestlers had creative freedom, where the inmates ran the asylum in the best possible way, where it wasn't about corporate structure and bureaucracy but about passion and art. Jon Moxley represented that vision more than anyone, more than the Young Bucks, more than Kenny Omega during his absence, more than Cody Rhodes before he left. Moxley was the alternative, and now he's gone. Trivia question number 3. Jon Moxley has competed in death matches all over the world. Can you name the violent specialty match he competed in at AEW Revolution 2021? Drop it in the comments if you remember that brutal night. Now let's talk about what this means for Claudio Castagnoli, because this isn't all sunshine and roses for him either. Yes, he won the match. Yes, he looked incredible, but at what cost? Claudio is now the guy who got Jon Moxley fired. That's going to be the narrative, whether it's fair or not, whether it's true or not. Every time he walks through the curtain, some fans are going to remember that his victory led to this decision. That's a lot of pressure to put on anyone, even someone as talented and experienced as Claudio. And here's the really twisted part. What if Claudio was supposed to lose? What if the plan was always for Moxley to win, to continue his storyline, to build towards something bigger, but there was an audible called in the match? What if someone made a last-minute decision to switch the finish, and that decision then gave Tony Khan the excuse he was looking for to pull the trigger on this firing? I'm not saying that happened. But in the world of professional wrestling, stranger things have occurred. The AEW locker room has to be in absolute chaos right now. Think about it from the perspective of any wrestler on that roster. If Jon Moxley can get fired for losing one match, what does that mean for them? If the guy who literally bled for the company, who worked through injuries, who showed up when others didn't, can be shown the door this quickly, what job security does anyone have? MJF has to be looking over his shoulder. Samoa Joe has to be wondering if his main event push could evaporate overnight. Even the Young Bucks, the executive vice presidents, have to be questioning whether their positions are as secure as they thought. This creates a culture of fear, and fear is the absolute enemy of creativity. Wrestling is at its best when performers feel empowered to take risks, to try new things, to push boundaries. But if you're worried that one loss, one bad match, one disagreement with management could end your career, you're not going to take those risks. You're going to play it safe. You're going to do what you're told. You're going to become exactly what AEW was supposed to be the alternative to. At this point, we have a quick request for you. We are constantly working to improve our content to earn your love and support. That's why we would truly appreciate it if you could take a moment to leave a like on this video, subscribe to the channel, and hit the bell icon so you never miss an update here on Wrestling Zone Insider. Your support means everything as we navigate this shocking story together. Let's talk about Tony Khan for a minute, because this is his decision at the end of the day. And I've been a Tony Khan defender for years. I've praised his passion for wrestling, his willingness to give wrestlers creative freedom, his genuine love for the business. But this is indefensible. Tony Khan is a billionaire's son playing with his dad's money. That's not an insult, that's just a fact. And for the most part, he's played it well. AEW has been successful beyond most people's wildest expectations. They've secured television deals, they've built a loyal fanbase, they've created genuine competition in an industry that was monopolistic for 2 decades. But this decision reveals something troubling about Khan's leadership. It reveals impulsiveness. It reveals a willingness to make emotional decisions rather than strategic ones. It reveals that maybe, just maybe, he's more concerned with being the boss than being the right leader for this company. Great leaders make tough decisions. Absolutely. But great leaders also understand loyalty. They understand legacy. They understand that some people are bigger than wins and losses, bigger than one bad night, bigger than whatever short-term problem you're trying to solve. Jon Moxley was bigger than whatever issue Tony Khan thinks he's solving by firing him. Trivia question number 4, let's test your memory. What was the name of Jon Moxley's faction that dominated AEW for months? Comment below if you remember those dark days for the AEW roster. Now, let's play devil's advocate for a moment. Let's try to understand what Tony Khan might be thinking, even if we don't agree with it. Maybe this wasn't about the loss to Claudio at all. Maybe that was just the final straw in a series of issues that we, the public, don't know about. Maybe there were contract disputes. Maybe there were legitimate backstage problems that went beyond normal wrestling drama. Maybe Moxley did something that crossed a line, something that made this decision not just reasonable but necessary. If that's the case, Tony Khan needs to say something. Radio silence in a situation like this only makes things worse. It allows speculation to run wild. It allows narratives to form that might be completely false. If there's a legitimate reason for this decision that goes beyond he lost a match, then communicate that to the fanbase. But here's why I don't think there's some secret, justified reason, because if there was, it would have leaked by now. Wrestling is the leakiest business in the world. If Moxley had done something truly fireable, if there was a scandal or a serious breach of contract, we'd know about it. The fact that all we have are vague rumors and speculation suggests that this really is what it appears to be, a rash decision made in anger or frustration. And that's terrifying for the future of AEW. Let's talk about the fan reaction, because it's been absolutely explosive. Twitter is a war zone right now. Reddit is melting down. Facebook groups are splitting apart. The wrestling community is more divided than I've seen it since Cody Rhodes returned to WWE. On one side, you have the Moxley loyalists who are ready to cancel their AEW subscriptions, who are calling for Tony Khan to sell the company, who are declaring that AEW has officially jumped the shark. These fans see Moxley as the heart and soul of the company, and they cannot fathom continuing to support an organization that would discard him so callously. On the other side, you have the Khan defenders who are saying we don't know the full story, who are arguing that maybe Moxley had become too big for his britches, who are suggesting that change is sometimes necessary even when it's painful. These fans trust that Tony Khan has information we don't have and is making the best decision for the long-term health of the company. And then you have a third group, the Schadenfreude crowd. These are often WWE loyalists who are absolutely delighted to see AEW implode. They are popping champagne, they are making memes, they are declaring that AEW was always doomed and this proves it. Me? I'm angry, I'm disappointed, and I'm worried about what this means for the future of professional wrestling as a whole. Trivia question number 5, final trivia before we wrap this up. Jon Moxley had an iconic rivalry with Kenny Omega. Can you remember what type of match they had at Full Gear 2019? Comment if you remember that unforgettable encounter. Because here's the thing, we need AEW to succeed. Even if you're a die-hard WWE fan, you should want AEW to thrive. Competition makes everything better. When AEW launched, WWE improved almost immediately. NXT got better. The main roster started taking more risks. Wrestlers got better contracts because suddenly they had leverage. If AEW falls apart, if it becomes just another wrestling company that couldn't sustain its initial momentum, we all lose. We lose the alternative. We lose the competition. We lose the leverage that wrestlers have to negotiate better deals. And decisions like firing Jon Moxley, they don't just damage AEW, they damage the entire ecosystem of professional wrestling. So what happens next? That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? Does Jon Moxley return to WWE? Can you imagine the pop if he showed up on Monday Night Raw? Imagine Triple H salivating at the chance to bring back one of the guys who got away, one of the guys who proved he could be a massive star without Vince McMahon's machine behind him. Does Moxley go back to the independents, back to New Japan, back to the places where he can wrestle the style he loves without corporate interference? Does he say screw it to American wrestling and become a full-time NJPW guy? Or does this get resolved? Is there a chance this is all a work, an elaborate storyline designed to create buzz? I don't think so. This feels too real, too messy, too damaging to be a work. But in wrestling, you never say never. What I do know is this: Tony Khan has put himself in an impossible position. If he reverses this decision, he looks weak and impulsive. If he sticks with it, he's lost one of his biggest stars and created a toxic environment in his locker room. There's no clean way out of this mess. And for those of you saying it's just wrestling, it's not that serious, you're wrong. For millions of fans around the world, wrestling matters. It's entertainment, yes, but it's also community. It's something we bond over, argue about, care deeply about. When something like this happens, when it feels like the company we've invested our time and emotion in is making catastrophic decisions, it hurts. We have a quick request for you one final time. We are constantly working to improve our content to earn your love and support. That's why we would truly appreciate it if you could take a moment to leave a like on this video, subscribe to the channel, and hit the bell icon so you never miss an update here on Wrestling Zone Insider. We're going to keep covering this story as it develops, and we promise to bring you the truth, even when it's uncomfortable. So here's my final take. For whatever it's worth, Tony Khan just made a decision he's going to regret. Maybe not today, maybe not tomorrow, But eventually, when the reality sets in that he fired one of the most important wrestlers in his company's history over what appears to be nothing, when the ratings potentially suffer, when the locker room morale hits rock bottom, when fans start tuning out because the product doesn't feel special anymore, he's going to wish he could take this back. Jon Moxley deserved better. AEW deserved better. And most importantly, the fans deserve better than to wake up to this news without any explanation, without any context, without any indication that the man running their favorite wrestling company understands what he just threw away. This is Wrestling Zone Insider, and we'll continue to follow this story wherever it goes. Drop your thoughts in the comments. Tell us if you think Tony Khan made the right call or if this is the beginning of the end for All Elite Wrestling. Make sure you've answered all our trivia questions scattered throughout this video. And most importantly, keep the conversation going, because this is far from over. Wrestling is chaos. Wrestling is unpredictable. But the best wrestling companies understand that some things should be sacred. Some people should be untouchable. Jon Moxley was one of those people. And now he's gone. What a disaster.